Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We're coming at you live from the Build studio in New York City. Now, if you are, in fact, watching us live right now, then you, my friend, are no stranger to distractions at work, which means you definitely know my next guest, or at the very least, their amazing creation, the Dodo. You see, for whatever reason, we as humans love nothing more than to look at and share pictures and videos of adorable things. It's pretty much the reason we invented the internet. Now, a couple of years ago, my next guest identified this and thought, what if we could harness this power and pair it up with a movement and act some real positive change through the power of cuteness? I'm paraphrasing the mission statement here, of course, but that is essentially what they've done. With over 2 billion monthly video views, they are the #1 animal brand on digital globally, the #1 animal media channel on YouTube, the #1 most loved publisher on Facebook and Facebook Watch. Here to tell us all about it from the Dodo, I have founder, Chief Creative Officer Izzie Lerer, and President YuJung Kim. How about that, everybody? Come on, make some noise. Some incredible people. They've done an incredible thing. You're right. That's how you should respond. This is pretty awesome. But before we bring them out, we're going to do that in just a second. We're going to hang out, talk through the whole nine. Before we do, though, we have a pretty awesome video that we're going to take a quick look at. So, Luke, do me a favor. Let's go ahead. Run that clip.
Think Daddy's home.
Oh, my God.
It's a good feeling. You can't say them all, but it feels good when you do.
Future looks good.
Ziggy, you know you're such a good boy.
I want something just like this.
Oh, man, so great. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise and welcome from the Dodo, Izzie Lerer and YuJung Kim. Come on. That was awesome. Guys, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for making this thing, for hanging out with us. Congratulations on being the #1 a lot of stuff in the world. It's pretty amazing. Before we dive in and talk about everything, just how are you guys doing? How's it going?
Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be here. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're as usual, heads down, making a lot of animal videos that hopefully people like and share. But yeah, everything's great. A lot of exciting things happening with the brand.
It's so funny that we're heads down. It's one of the things I think about is how do you guys get anything done? Because one video on the Dodo in our office turns into at least 20 minutes of just clicking through. Did you see this one? Did you look at this one? It just goes on and on and on. How do you avoid the inevitable distraction that comes with this content? What do you?
We don't.
So we totally embrace it, first of all, but on top of that, we have office dogs. So it's kind of this
additional challenge, but really opportunity to be delighted.
Office dogs are key. You got it. Yeah. We're rallying for one around here at some point. Well, congratulations. Like I said, I want to get into. There's so many amazing things going on. You got the show with Animal Planet. I want to talk about Facebook. I want to get into all of that, but I would love to, since we have some time, just kind of dial back a little bit, a couple of years, and start from the beginning. Kind of where the idea came from, how you decided to marry these two concepts. You know, this viral content and doing something positive with it. Just tell us the story of where this started.
Yeah, sure. So a few years ago, I was getting my PhD at Columbia in philosophy, studying animal ethics and human-animal relationships. Kind of didn't know if I wanted to be a professor. Those jobs are really hard to get. At the same time, was observing the fact that social had exploded and was continuing to explode, and animal content in particular. When publishers sort of did do these articles at the time and a little bit of video, were hugely shared and hugely successful, but no one was really owning the space. So there was this major kind of business opportunity there, and then at the same time. This idea of animals and loving animals being this huge universal passion point, and there being a real progressive movement around caring about animals and doing right by them that's getting bigger every day. That was sort of the second observation, and can we build a brand that at the same time takes sort of advantage of this white space and tries to own it on social, but at the same time really does something positive and is a part of this big progressive movement.
For sure. And did you always, when you were younger, were you a big fan of animals, big animal lover? Was that something that's just ingrained in you?
Obsessed.
The biggest understatement, I think.
I don't do well with people. No, they've been a huge sort of part of my source of comfort and my worldview since I was very small, and they continue to be. And what's cool is that sort of it's the same way for YuJung and for everyone at the Dodo. We've really built a team where that passion point is so present in everyone we work with.
Yeah. Well, I love when you go to your site and it's like about the team. Before we ever see your picture, you have these little animal avatars that you have to hover over.
That honestly sums it up.
Yeah.
We were debating whether to even put human faces. It's really just a secondary thing.
Did you choose your individual avatars? I believe yours was a puffin, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is yours I want to say a mini pony?
Thank you so much for that. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Parks and Recs, Little Sebastian. You see, you know a mini pony when you see
Little
one.
Sebastian, best reference.
Well, what would yours be? Not to put you on the spot.
Oh man, this may not be like a really original answer, but my boxer is very much my animal avatar. Like he and I are one and the same.
What's his name?
Doozer.
Okay.
Like from the Fraggles, little Doozer.
That's just perfect.
If we keep going, there's going to be a million photos of him on the screen, so we should probably push forward.
Okay.
We'll talk after.
Yeah, but did you guys choose those individual, or
We did, yeah.
Yeah, and each one I think says something about the individual link to it. Like puffins, little known fact, aren't very good flyers, but so they have to work extra hard to stay in the air, which is the most adorable thing. Yeah, they're fighters.
And mini pony?
Love horses, always have. They're very therapeutic. I like therapy.
Let's talk about that some more.
Yeah, that's the one we're going to chase down. All right, so you have this idea, you start putting it together, it's lightning in a bottle, you figured it out, you're growing exponentially year over year. I wrote it down, I think the Twitter numbers, 10 times growth just from last year to this year? How has the strategy for you guys, has it shifted or changed from those early days? Because the growth has been so dramatic, so fast.
So some things have changed and some things have remained exactly the same, I think it's fair to say. So, our DNA is really social, be where our audience is, and we've never lost sight of that. So we built our brand around our audiences on Facebook, on Snapchat, on Twitter, on YouTube, I would say what has changed, and it's something that we're incredibly excited about, is the way in which we tell our stories. So it's keeping the story first, but changing the format, and for that reason, it never gets old.
And we're going to get into that in a second, too, because you are telling stories in a lot of new and different ways, which is really exciting. But I was always curious, since you have all these numbers, the growth is happening, it's so crazy. Do you ever see an uptick in, like, a correlation to, like, I don't know, maybe an election or something? Like, are there significant moments culturally where people flock to comforting material, and you guys can sort of draw those parallels?
Definitely. Yes. This political climate has been pretty good for our growth, honestly.
You guys in bars.
It's been good for something.
Like
yeah.
Always in.
So people are, I think, seeking positivity and sort of seeking to be inspired and to feel something. And that, speaking of DNA, that's very much sort of who we are. We put animals front and center. They're our protagonists. They're our main characters. And we want to tell their stories and make people feel good. And so I think on our best days, we're able to kind of make people at the same time escape, but also feel something deeply. And I think that's what sort of people are flocking to in times like this.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like the brilliance of the whole thing too, is because it's inherently comfortable. These animals, it's a comforting thing, but also it's like a neutral space, a safe space. It's not political at all. Like everyone can rally around that. These creatures are sharing this planet with us. We think they're adorable, and we can do stuff to help them. Like it's like mwah, it's like perfect. Yeah.
And it's it's across age, it's across culture. There's really no, when people ask us about sort of like what's your target audience, we're kind of like anyone who likes animals. That's basically everyone.
Anyone with a heart, yeah. No, basically, but right.
Silly question. How long did it take you to get the name, the Dodo? It's
We were sort of thinking about having a name that not necessarily everyone loved, but that everyone remembered. So we wanted it to be something that you didn't forget and that was catchy. And we also wanted it to be a character. Like I said, sort of animals are front and center. They're our characters. So we wanted the name to represent that. And there's a little bit of a deeper meaning. There's sort of two sides to our brand, which I hope was clear from the sizzle. One is that it's really fun and delightful, which I think he is. And then the other is that it's really meaningful, and we do a lot around advocacy and sort of real issues that animals face. And the dodo is the first recorded species that was sort of thrown into extinction by humans. So it has this kind of extra meaning there.
Well done. No, you do a ton of stuff but behind conservative. We had Boone Smith for Big Cat Week here not too long ago. Awesome guy, awesome cause, and I saw a pretty prominent feature for Big Cat Week and Big Cat the promotion on your site. How did you guys get paired up with them? How do you find these causes and make these decisions? Because there's so many that you could partner with.
So you're right. It's really a matter of prioritizing our obsessions because there's no shortage of fights to fight and messages to deliver. But for us, it's really where we can have the most impact. So, I think Izzie can speak to, instances in the past where we've either been at the forefront of kind of a movement that, we wanted to drive through, or, we saw the wave and knew that it was at a tipping point. So it was the right time for us to add to the noise around that.
Yeah, I think that, early on, and still today, we were sort of obsessed with this idea that SeaWorld in particular was kind of no longer gaining ground, and people were starting to say, well, maybe these animals aren't happy, and sort of maybe going to see them isn't a great thing. And basically going by people's emotional reactions to things, because they're usually right. And so we decided that was one of our sort of coverage areas of obsession. And we do that often. I would say every 3 months or so, we kind of meet and say, what are we obsessed with? What do we care about? Because other people care about that too.
Yeah. Honestly, in the world of social media, it's, immediate kind of instant reactions, instant gratification. But, Facebook having those emoji reactions, it's just honestly, we can't get clear feedback from that.
That data actually is very valuable.
Exactly.
That real-time
Right.
feedback. Yeah. Do you remember? With any new brand or startup or anything of that nature, there's always uncertainty in the beginning. Do you remember the landmark moment, the point in which you were like, "Oh, this is resonating. This is a thing now." Like,
I do.
Yeah.
I think that the moment was also actually sort of connected to SeaWorld in some sense, in that we made this video about a very elderly orca named Granny, who was spotted in the wild, and she was 103 years old. And our take was kind of that this was so incredibly wonderful and majestic and moving, and it would never happen at SeaWorld for many reasons. But that video went incredibly viral. And that was sort of a moment when we said, we can really we're achieving making people really feel something and making them feel inspired and motivated. That was the first moment where was kind of like, okay, maybe this can work.
That's pretty amazing. All right, so you have that moment. Let's fast forward a little bit now. It's working. People are catching on. I had to write down this number because I thought this was crazy. 100 million pet owners in the U.S. per month, which is more than half of pet owners in the country. Just another one of like the remarkable stats that we can find when you look at the viewership here. As the audience continues to grow, and it just keeps getting larger and larger, does the knowledge of the sheer scale of all this, does it create a heavier weight of responsibility of like, and at that point, do you have a metric to measure the success of like, all right, we are enacting positive change. People aren't just sharing these things. We're getting people to be more interested, to sign up for petitions, to act. Like, are you able to measure that and see that as well? Like,
We are. So there are metrics we look at to measure impact specifically. Donations are one of them. So we're not a fundraising platform, but there are certain causes where it makes all the sense in the world to pair the content with the cause and action in the form of getting people to donate. And for us, what we found is, when the story is compelling, when the animal is so compelling, it lends itself to an organic call to action, basically. Yeah. So we look at the dollars there, and it's, dollars speak for themselves.
Sure. Yeah, there's an authenticity to everything. I mean, just from the ground up of like you guys asking yourselves, what are we obsessed with, and using that as kind of like your guiding light, and then people genuinely being moved by these things to take action. All right, so now here we are, about a year ago. We talk about all this fun new ways in which we're telling stories. Facebook Watch comes along and they're like, we're gonna do this huge thing, and we want to partner with you guys. How do you react? How do you have to change your approach to storytelling? Talk me through that process.
Yeah, so basically we loved getting that call because it was basically the perfect excuse to go deeper, even deeper into storytelling and increase the length from 60 to 90 seconds to anywhere from 3 to 11 minutes and beyond. So for us, it was an opportunity to really convert and evolve our thinking around one-off videos to episodic content, to really building franchises that people can expect to see season after season. So today we have 7 shows on Watch, and they're all a bit different, but they've all been a ton of fun to create.
And they've all been sort of based on things that really worked in feed, right, and worked in short form. So they're data-driven in that sense. And again, we always start from a place of what are we obsessed with editorially, what do we want to watch? But it's also like we have mountains of data about what our audience likes. And so combining those two things, we kind of came up with the idea for these 7 shows, and it's ongoing, and are really trying to crack what is mid-form storytelling in video format for the Dodo.
You guys seem to be nailing it because I was looking at, I think it's 3 of the top 5 shows on Facebook Watch are your shows. Like, you guys are crushing it. And, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You think of, like, what you're obsessed with, and you sort of, like, do, like, a Venn diagram of, like, the data of see where the overlap is, and you just sort of chase that down. What are the questions that you're asking yourself, that you're asking, of the brand, of the team as you're making this to make sure you're staying on track, that you're staying true to the message of the Dodo?
So at the top of that list is shareability and the idea of engagement. So, for us, video views, watch time, those are all very indicative of how engaging a story is. But the ultimate gratification almost is when someone chooses to share it because they're aligning themselves with the story publicly, privately to their network. So for us, we really set at the top of the list of questions, is this video something that we would share personally?
It's so crazy. And so, okay, so you do that, you nail it, that works out. And now this summer, Animal Planet. It's like it just keeps going. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. It's got to be a wild ride for you guys right now, right? Like, can you even process it? Has it ceased to be surreal that now, I think June 9th, Animal Planet, Dodo Heroes?
Yeah. It's a lot. No, I know, and we don't really know either. But the reason why we think it happened is Discovery was our main investor, sort of from pretty much the outset, right? Interested in us because of Animal Planet, has since become a minority investor in Group 9, which is sort of our parent company, and we thought, let's make a show together, and the idea of heroes and people going above and beyond for animals and really sort of dedicating their lives to it is a theme that is not surprisingly, right, hugely kind of resonant and shareable, and we've seen huge success around it. And we thought that in some ways, it's more people-driven than what we generally do. So that longer format and that linear format was a really nice home for it. So that's how we sort of started developing the pitch out.
It's pretty amazing. Has it reached a point? Yeah, everything's moving so fast. But has it reached a point where the ways in which you develop the long form stuff is starting to inform how you do the short stuff that's living on the Dodo?
Not quite.
No.
But I it's interesting that you say that. That's I think the next step is to we're right still in the thick of really sort of getting Heroes done. But I think there'll be many learnings from that we can apply to some of our sort of longer mid form content.
And we really see Heroes as, this great example of 360 kind of content, marketing and franchise building, where, it's just as much about what we can do on digital around Heroes to support the linear launch as it is the linear event itself. So, for us, it's really exciting because there's kind of a war or battle out there, cord cutters versus cord nevers versus couch potatoes, and for us, we're trying to find that convergence.
Yeah, for sure. And on that quest, you've also recently launched El Dodo, which is the first Spanish-speaking, non-English Dodo brand. Mountains of new data pouring in. Is that what's happening? Are you seeing interesting correlations between what other people around the world are looking at versus English-speaking individuals? What's that been like, getting all this new information flooding in?
It's been great.
Yeah.
So the genesis of El Dodo was that we were seeing a large Spanish-speaking population on our main platform. So that was really the impetus for launching a dedicated platform. But what's been interesting about El Dodo is it skews younger. Engagement is even higher on the platform, and we think it's because, again, there has been this kind of space for a Spanish language animal platform that didn't exist that we're able to fill, and it's been great. 95% of the audience is in Latin America, 40% in Mexico. So obviously it opens up a whole new market for us.
So wild. And just to give context for those that are not entirely aware, what year did you start all of this?
We started technically in 2014, but we really kind of 2015, I would say, is when we kind of got our legs.
#1 in the world. Bunch of stuff. It's amazing. Congratulations. I was so excited, guys, to have you in here to talk about it, because it is pretty incredible what you've achieved and what you've done in such a short span of time.
Thank you so much.
How successful you've been with this. I'm made of questions, but part of the show is audience Q&A. We give them mics and everything. So I'm a man of my word. I promised them they could ask some questions. We're going to turn it over. Randy saying the first one is right here.
Hi. Since you guys work with a lot of animals, was there any animal experience that you had before starting Dodo that you were inspired by, or you were just like, man, I wish I had a camera, but technology wasn't that advanced yet?
That's such a good question, and it's basically every day of my life for since I was born, and still I'm like, where's my phone? In particular, sort of, I don't know if this is exactly what you're looking for, but I have a few memories over the course of my life where I just felt like, my God, this is etched into sort of my brain as so inspiring. One was I happened upon 5 baby fox siblings playing together. Did not have a phone at the time, and it was ages ago, so my phone wouldn't have had a camera. But if we did that today, imagine the shares.
Do you have a moment as well?
Well, that question reminds me that when Izzie and I were first talking, it's, all we could talk about was animals. We both happen to have cats. That does not make us cat ladies, but just saying. And, that really speaks to, the bond that people form around animals between each other. Or, a key theme that we love to focus on is kids and babies and their interactions around animals. So it's really kind of using our own interactions with fellow animal lovers and with animals as inspiration.
Do you guys, either of you, have a go-to GIF that you keep on your desktop that you'll throw into an email or a message from time? Mine's any dog on any kind of board, surfing, skating, or otherwise. That goes in the folder. That gets filed away.
You'll send that to me later?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a go-to or anything that you find yourself really amused by?
We mix it up. Yeah. We have we have a mountain sort of at our disposal.
A treasure trove, if you will.
Embarrassment of riches.
Exactly. Well, recently there has been a dog or two who's been known to ride a horse. Have you seen that?
All right, I'd like to update my answer to dogs riding things in general. Just
that's the new one.
Yeah, that's the new one. We're going to expand the collection. We got a few more, Randy. Next one's coming from right here on the green couch.
Hey, I was just wondering, how do you guys filter out the videos that go into the site? Because I know there's certain ones that they do go viral, but ones that don't like, you know, that feels safe for viewers to see? Like, how do you guys filter that out?
So we have a video team, an in-house video team of about 40 producers and editors. So every video that goes on our site or on our platforms is edited and curated and produced by our team. So, you know, for us, it's really the question of what's on brand. Is there a story worth telling? And then, you know, from there, that's when it kind of enters the production floor.
Thank you for that. We've got time. I'm getting one more here, and it's going to be
Hey.
over there.
You mentioned about the Discovery deal. What else would you like to achieve this year? And what are some of your longer-term goals?
Great question. What we'd like to achieve this year is sort of doing more of the same and growing further in our bread and butter of kind of that social first video mentality. Obviously, we hope that Dodo Heroes is a big success. And could see ourselves doing sort of more on linear in that kind of documentary style space. Beyond that, we are currently pitching a kids show called Little Dodo, which is for preschool kids aged 4 to 6. And it's, you know, the star of the show is him, but little
Fluffier.
and fluffy and delicious. And we are looking for the right home for that. But that, you know, sort of, there's this very natural affinity between kids and animals, obviously, and a lot of opportunity in the humane education and entertainment space. So we feel like it's a natural place to extend the brand, and we're really excited to do that in 2018.
Thank you for that question. That sounds amazing, by the way. That's very exciting. Before we go, just remind everybody, I wrote it down, June 9th, 9 p.m., Animal Planet, Dodo Heroes. But I mean, there's so many things. What else do we want to tell everybody to keep an eye out for? Of course, go to the Dodo, follow you on all your social, Instagram, YouTube, all those wonderful things. Keep an eye out for, what's it going to be called? The Dodo Kids Show? What is it?
Little Dodo.
Little Dodo. Oh, my God, that's the best name. Look at his little feet. All right. So
He wears sneakers, Little Dodo.
does he really have his little sneaker? Like little high tops? Like little.
He's a little more casual than grown-up Dodo.
I cannot wait for this. It's fantastic. Thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you so
Congratulations
much.
on
This
everything.
was so much
Everybody,
fun.
please make some noise one more time. Thank Izzie and YuJung for being here.